Quilting has so many techniques and styles. It can take a while to figure out which ones are your favorites. Today's guest, Mary Davis of Merry-Go-Round Quilts, has been a quilter for a while, but it's only in the last 5 years that she has leaned in to her love of free motion quilting. She has been sharing her patterns and panels on Instagram and YouTube for a while, and she's going to tell us all about it. So grab your sewing and a cup of tea, and here's my interview with Mary Davis. Welcome, Mary, to the show. Whereabouts in the world are you coming to us from?
I'm in Commerce City, Colorado, which is basically a little suburb of Denver.
Are you originally from that area?
I wasn't born here. I was born in West Point. We were a military family. After my dad retired, we came out here to an Air Force base, and I've been here ever since.
Ever since. Did you come from a crafty family?
My mom was crafty. She was big into sewing and crochet were her two main things. She dabbled in other things too. And I think when we were kids, she would give us craft kits, I think to keep us out of her hair. I just loved it because every Christmas I'm like, oh, what am I going to get this year? So we'd get like little sewing kits or painting or just, oh my gosh, you name it. We had crafts.
So then how did you actually come to quilting?
My mom, she had started quilting later in her life, and she was doing hand quilting. She was like piecing by hand, and I would go over there and I would see all the things she was doing. And I think I kind of just like am a copycat. And whatever my sisters or anybody else is doing, I want to do it too. And I just thought it was so cool. And so I decided I was going to teach myself to quilt and just went to the store back then, Hancock Fabrics, got a book. It taught different piecing techniques in every block, which I didn't realize until later. At the time, it was just fun. But looking back, it's like, oh, there were corners, there were wide seams, and I didn't realize that. So I made a sampler quilt, and I just thought it was the funnest thing in the world. And I just never looked back, just kept on going.
I think the quilters of today, we don't really have an appreciation of life before the rotary cutter and instant access to everything on YouTube. We used to have to go to the library and hopefully there'd be a book, or you'd go on a wait list until the book was available.
Get something you don't really want till the wait list came up.
So how long have you been quilting then?
I started, I believe I made my first quilt, I think it was 1994. I was a garment sewer up until that point. I was like a crazy garment sewer. I made everything. But, once I discovered quilting, that took over.
So what's your favorite part of quilting?
I think my favorite part is the free motion quilting at the end, but I do like piecing too, rotary cutting. And I don't know, there's something relaxing about that piecing part of it.
Where in the whole timeline of your quilting did you become a teacher?
I want to say maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I honestly didn't know that it was even possible until I took Elizabeth Chappell's quilt pattern writing course. And during that course, she also would talk about different ways that you could make money as a quilter. And I had no idea, none. And so I thought, this is cool. I'm going to pursue this because I can do it. I know I can do it. I was a little scared, but I love it.
So you were quilting for quite some time then before you decided to dip your toe into the business side of things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think once I got on Instagram, which was in 2019, that just opened up a whole new world for me because I was basically just in my own little bubble of going to the library or whatever, watching YouTube videos. And I thought Instagram was something that only kids did. I had no idea. Once I got on there, it was like, wow, I didn't know what QuiltCon was. There was just like a whole new world of quilting that I'm exposed to.
Yeah, I think Instagram was invented for quilters, just sharing our fabrics and our quilt patterns and all the different ways you can display them.
Yeah, all the people that I thought were, the quilting celebrities. And it was like, oh my gosh, look at it, and it was fun.
Were you surprised at how much effort you need to put into making a quilt pattern or a YouTube channel or teaching?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I, again, didn't really have any idea. I was starting from nothing, kind of teaching myself along the way with YouTube University and taking courses and everything else. But yeah, I work full time. It was consuming. It still is. I still work full time but I just get it done.
So I see your long arm behind you. Do you long arm for anybody else? No.
Just for me. I'm new to the long arm. I started on a sit down machine on my domestic, and then I have a sit down quilting machine. So I just got the long arm last year. And to be quite honest, I haven't used it as much because I just love the sit down machine. And I found the long arm a little bit challenging going from the sit down to that. And then I got frustrated. So I was kind of just doing a little bit of long arming on there, practicing, and then doing some of the computerized designs to learn how to do that. But I told myself this year I have to, I need to get comfortable with it. But I don't know, I guess the old dog new tricks thing, and it's holding me back.
Well, I think your sit-down free motion quilting is what people probably know you for. You've got all these wonderful videos on Instagram, which I must admit I've spent a fair amount of time watching because it's just so addictive watching them. When did you get your sit-down quilting machine?
Well, the first one I got might have been around 2014, after I discovered what you could do on the sewing machine. And then I started seeing people with these contraptions called long arms. And then there were these sit down machines that I heard were less expensive. And so I started looking for a used machine in my area, and I didn't realize how hard it is to find used long arms. I ended up finding one. It was an older machine. It was called a Queen Quilter 18. I think it was made by Tin Lizzie, which is no longer in business. It didn't have stitch regulation. So I spent the money, got that. I really, really liked it. I had a lot of tension issues in the beginning, a lot, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was teaching myself, and it just wasn't the best machine. I think it was nearing the end of its life, but I pushed it to its limit. Then after that, and being on Instagram, and I saw how you could become ambassadors for different companies. And so I thought, I'll look into being an ambassador for a sewing machine company. And I contacted Baby Lock. Long story short, got an interview. They accepted me, got a new sit-down quilting machine and a sewing machine. And I've been all Baby Lock ever since. And I love this sit-down one that I have.
So if somebody was getting a mid-arm, what would you now recommend that they do first?
I would say to be comfortable free motion quilting on your domestic machine first, so that when you get your long arm, you don't feel too intimidated, and then you set it up and just use it as a clothes hanger because you're too scared. In my opinion, it's best to have a little bit of a base and a desire to want to do better and do more. And then a sit-down machine is great. It's more economical than the long arm on the frame, and it's very compact. It fits into like a corner. So that's nice. So you can have the freedom of a long arm with all that throat space and be able to make large quilts in a small amount of space.
There's some things that a mid-arm can do that a long arm cannot, because the long arm has just a narrow width. Even, mine is fairly deep, but still I can't do diagonal lines unless I, change the whole way I mount the back and things like that.
On the sit-down machine, you do have that freedom to move your quilt any which way you want to start stitching, as we're on the long arm. Yeah, you're stuck with, you have to learn how to do feathers upside down, sideways, and every way. But on the sit-down, you can, move your quilt to the position where it's comfortable and then start doing your feathers in that direction.
I noticed on your website that you have some panels. When did you try those at?
I started doing those at the end of last year. I have been looking for different ways to kind of monetize my business and diversify. And I love working on quilt panels. Love it. Way back when I first started, I would buy quilt panels all the time because, they were inexpensive and it was a great way to practice free motion quilting on. And you had this instant quilt because you already had a pre-designed panel. So, and I still have lots of panels. And I thought I should make some of my own. I could do that. I love quilting panels and I have ideas for doing quilt-alongs with a panel in the future. So I just started looking at that and working with some programs online and coming up with some designs.
I love the two headshots that you have. They're just gorgeous.
It's not easy to find panels that have African American women on them. So I don't know. And I like African kind of art. And so I decided that I was going to make some.
So how long into your experience did you find that free motion quilting on your sit-down sewing machine was going to be your niche that you were going to specialize in?
I didn't know it was my niche. I knew it was something that I loved to do, but I never thought that it was something that I could take any further than right here in my sewing room. So I would say, around maybe 2021, I started posting more on my Instagram. And then the more I posted, the more comments that I would get and the more encouragement and really great feedback, and people liked the stuff. And I was like, well, hey, there's something here. I can do this. I can show people what I do, because people were always asking, how do you do that? What stitches are you using? What thread? I mean, it's just like all these questions. And so I slowly, after about 2021, decided that I could teach this and what was my next step.
So you have courses and you have a subscription group as well?
I do. I have on-demand courses. I have a large course that's more comprehensive that initially was a 10-week, I would say, live. It was still all pre-recorded, but I only released it once a year. And then I made some smaller courses that are on demand that just teach you a little bit of some fewer designs. And I have plans to take that even further this year. So that started with me wanting to do classes, and I saw other people and I thought, I am just as good. There's always going to be somebody better than me, somebody worse than me, but I'm just as good as everybody else. And there's no reason why I can't do this, because it's something that I love.
I'm amazed at what you do, because not only do you do the big designs, you do all those little tiny ones, which I find so challenging.
Oh, see, I love that. That's like one of my favorites, the micro quilting and thread painting, I call it, or free motion embroidery. It kind of all encompasses into that same area, but I absolutely love doing that. I actually was recording a video last night on how to make stencils out of paper, because that's a lot of what I do when I just want to make a design. Like I have a little elephant and I just print a picture off of the internet, trace it onto fabric, and just quilt it in.
Yeah, I think I saw you do one with a butterfly.
Yeah, that was fun.
And you had these tiny little designs that you put inside.
I know.
That was
Hopefully
cool.
I'll
That
be
was
able
really cool.
to see for a long time, because it's like it's kind of small, but it's not so bad. The good thing about quilting small is that nobody can see your mistakes, because it all just blends in.
So when you're going small, do you use a smaller needle or smaller thread, or just the regular stuff?
Just the regular stuff. I am not too particular when it comes to my thread weights, as some other quilters may be. I tend to stick around 40 and 50 weight, just because I personally like a little bit of a thicker thread, and I have not found any issues. I use the needle size I have in my machine. I have 16 and 18 in my sit-down machine, but I usually use the 16. Sometimes I feel like the 18 can leave a bigger hole. So yeah, I use the 16 needle, 40 weight thread most often. I've not had any issues with quilting small with heavier thread. It fills in more too. It fills in the design a little bit more because it's heavier.
I saw you got a whole new collection of threads from Houston, from the quilt show. Have you tested any of them out?
I just remember now that you said that, because they are in my drawer. I bought that box. God, I got to pull that out. Going to pull it out after this. I haven't. I never realized either how much I love thread. I mean, it was just a means to an end when I was sewing garments. You get the color that you need to match your fabric and you go. And now with free motion quilting, it's every time I go to the store, I want more thread. I don't even need more thread, but I love all the different types of thread that there are. And I like to experiment with all different types of thread.
So have you worked with the metallics?
I have done a little bit. I find on at least my sit down machine, even when I loosen the tension to accommodate the metallic thread, sometimes it works okay and sometimes it breaks. But I'll put the same thread in my long arm and I don't have an issue. So it's probably just me trying to get that tension right, but don't have that big of a problem with it. I use the metallic, I use the monofilament thread when I'm doing my yarn couching, and I've never had that break on me, surprisingly. And the monofilament, I just think is cool. I've never used it for actually quilting a whole quilt top, but I just use it for yarn couching.
So now free motion quilting is your thing. Do you choose your quilt patterns based on the best one that can give you better opportunities to free motion quilt?
No, whatever quilt patterns I get, I just get them because I think they're pretty or whatever I design, but I don't design them with space in mind. And I will be honest with you, after I'm done piecing a quilt, I do have to sit there a while because, and try to figure out, okay, what am I going to do here? What am I going to put there? I love the negative space in a quilt, but I will have to say it does scare me some because I think, I don't know, I have such indecision dilemma that I hesitate with big open spaces. But again, that's another one of my goals for this year is to do like a whole cloth quilt that, you just start from a blank piece of fabric. So I'm going to get over that.
So you've been quilting longer than most people. Do you find there's a big difference between the quilts that you made when you started with the quilts that you're making now?
Well, not a whole lot. I still use the exact same stitches when I first started out. The first design that I ever did was stippling. I love stippling. I still use it. I know a lot of quilters are like, oh, stippling is boring. You don't want to put that on your quilts, but I do. I'm comfortable with some of those more basic designs that I learned in the beginning, and I just add to them so that I can have different variations with my stippling or with my loops, just add something else in there. I mean, that's all free motion quilting is a combination of different designs that you can put together and they look really nice and provide great texture on your quilt top. So I don't think that I have changed very much except for in the confidence area. I'm more confident now when I'm quilting.
Have you changed the way that you use thread? Do you use the same colors or do you go for more contrast or less contrast now?
I have changed that. I used to always do matchy, but now I love doing multiple colors of threads in my quilt if I can. I don't do a whole lot of custom. I'll do like semi-custom, but I will experiment with more thread color or try to not always use off-white like I normally do. I like the thread to show up and I like that contrast.
I was surprised to find out that, like on a white, you're better off using like a light pink or a yellow or even a light green
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
choosing a white.
Yeah. Yeah, I was even looking. I had a light pink that I used. It was one of those huge cones, and I used it a lot. And I was like, "Do I still have that?" And I was looking for it yesterday because I wanted to use it. And I'm like, "Shoot, I think it's empty." But yeah, so I do like to use something that's a little bit slightly different than the color of the whole quilt top.
You have a beautiful quilt behind you. Can you tell me a little bit about that quilt?
This is I can't remember the name of it. It's a Christmas tree pattern. It's a free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop. Last year, I was a Bendertex ambassador and they did this Christmas in July. So the fabric was Owl Be Home for Christmas. And it's a bunch of owls in different Christmassy kind of colors. And it's really fun. And I like it a lot. And that one, I think I did. Oh, yeah, I could tell from here. I just did loops on it because that meant I was in a hurry to get it finished.
If you are strapped for time, what is the quickest pattern you think for free motion quilting?
Definitely the stippling because you can make it as large or as small as you want it. And so if you want to get your quilt done quickly, just do stippling and make it a little bit bigger, not so big that it's exceeding the boundary of what your batting can handle and still stay together. Yeah, that's a big thing, is scaling up the design to make it go a little bit quicker when you're quilting it.
I had no idea that was a skill that you had to learn when I started. I would find that I would have a corner and everything would be tight together, but by the time I got to the bottom corner, everything was big and open, and
Yeah,
obviously I wanted to finish fast.
yeah. And sometimes you start out and you're like, well, I'm going to make it this size. And you start out small and then you're like, I don't really like that. And then I'll, you know, make it a little bigger. I figure if it's in a corner, no one's going to be able to tell and it's not going into a show. So
So what is your favorite quilt?
I was thinking about that, and I picked a favorite from last year because I have so many quilts that I don't know that I have an all-time favorite except for the very first quilt that I ever made, which I quilted by hand because that's what the book told me to do. Last year, I did my first panel of a butterfly, and I decided to quilt that in. It's custom quilted and it was a little bit more than I thought I was going to do. But once I got into it, I'm like, I don't want to do big quilting stitches. I want to do smaller designs. So
Ooh,
all of the pieces are different stitches in each of the little wings here. And I just kind of went a little crazy with it. I have all the little flowers down at the bottom, but I also did some free motion quilting that's different in each of the little flower petals. So I got a little crazy with it, but sometimes you just don't know until you sit down and you start quilting exactly what you're going to do. So once I started with customizing it and making the design smaller, it's like I had to stick with that.
did you say that was one of your panels?
This is one of the panels that is available on my website. This was the first one that I did. And then after I did this one, I made the others, but that was the first and I love it.
I like the haunted house. I'm a Halloween baby, so
Oh, I love that one too.
I may have to grab that one to make a Halloween quilt.
Yeah, that was fun. And that's been a journey in itself, is designing the fabric, finding the companies to print the designs and all that. But, you know, it's all part of learning.
Do you put a label on your quilt?
I do. This one I ripped off because I put it in a show and I didn't know that I couldn't have a label on it. So I ripped it off and hadn't put it back on yet. But I just get those iron-on labels. I buy them off of Etsy, and I have my name and the year and where I city and state, and then I just iron those onto my quilts. I do have some that I haven't put anything on, but I'm trying again to be better with that.
It's hard. I've got to remember to do it early on in the process because I just have no energy for it at the end.
Yeah, it's just an afterthought. It's like you totally forget.
Then I made one. I'm making a quilt right now, and I made the label. And when I printed it out, it ended up being like this big. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
my nephew's not going to want a big label on the back of his quilt. Love Auntie Karen, I
Yes.
don't think so. So I had to reduce it all down and print it again.
Oh, so you just print yours onto fabric?
I buy the special EQ printable fabric sheets, and they
Okay.
just work in my inkjet. And that's what I've been using recently. I think I've done a couple by hand, but
Mhm.
when I got an embroiderer, I thought I was going to embroider them all, but turns out you got to buy alphabets for that to work. And
Oh,
I haven't got that way. I know people that
yeah.
do free motion and make beautiful labels, but I just find the printing of the label is the fastest.
Yeah, and that's why I get the iron on, because I am kind of lazy and I'd like to do things quick and just get it out of the way. And if I have to, I used to just hand stitch all my labels on, and it's funny because I think, okay, I sewed for a gazillion years making garments. I hand sewed my hems all the time, but then you ask me to sew on a little 3-inch label by hand, and it's like,
Too much effort. Now, I know a number of years ago you started a subscription group just to get the information out there about all the amazing Black quilters. I don't think it's still running, but do you have anything like that still going where you just highlight these amazing people?
I don't. And actually, it wasn't just African American or Black quilters. I did like quilters of color in general. So I had a lot of amazing people and amazing quilters that I had met from, the US and abroad. And it was like really cool. And I had intentions of after I stopped to still do maybe posts on my Instagram and introduce quilters and do a little bio there, but I didn't. I know I should have. And there was just so much that I want to do, and it's hard to pick and choose exactly what gets done. And, who knows, maybe still someday in the future, I might do that.
Tell me about your new membership that you have on your website.
It's called Evolve, and it is a free motion quilting membership. I called it Evolve because after we take quilting classes, sometimes we just stop and we don't do anything more. So my philosophy is this will help you evolve into that confident free motion quilter that you want to be, keep that momentum and not stop moving forward in your journey. So every month we learn a new free motion quilting design, and I have guest speakers on quarterly. There's a Facebook group, and then the monthly block parties, I call them. And for 2026, I actually designed a fabric panel that has 12 different, what do you call them, classic quilt blocks. And every month we're going to fill in one of those blocks with free motion quilting. So then at the end of the year, you got the whole thing done.
So is the panel part of the subscription, or you have to purchase that separately?
It's additional because it's optional, I should say. It's very low cost. And if you want to participate in that part of the membership, then people can. If they don't want to, that's okay too. You'll still learn all the different stitches and designs throughout the year on a monthly basis.
I think that panel's a very clever idea because it takes a lot of time to make all those blocks. And if you've done them well, you may not want to experiment on them.
And I may not want to write the patterns. That's a lot of work.
In your day job, is there any skills that transfer to quilting and back from quilting?
No, I'm a legal secretary, so nothing legal about quilting. It's
copyright laws.
True. I do civil litigation, so I don't do a patent and trademark, but that would be nice because I do have questions about stuff like that. That's something that I haven't done is trademarked my name, or is that what? I can't remember. I know there's something you can do with that.
You mentioned your name. Merry-Go-Round Quilts is such a wonderful tagline. Was this a nickname that you had as a kid? Where did it come from?
No, I was actually just brainstorming names that I could do. I was going to just do my regular name because I know that if you do Mary Davis Quilts, I don't have to worry about licensing or anything like that because it's just my name. But all of those were taken. Mary Davis Quilts, Mary Rose Davis Quilts. It's like it was too common. So all of that was taken. And I really wanted to have my first name in the name of my business. And I was just sitting around just writing out a bunch of them. And I sent it to my sisters. And I'm like, which ones do you think out of all of these? And merry-go-round was one of them.
It's a good one. It's amazing how they don't come and then they just seem to fall from the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the same problem with my name. It's way too common. I've never been to a doctor that doesn't have another Karen Brown on the docket.
Yes.
And at the bank, like there's 400 pages of people with the same name.
When I was growing up, I always wished I had a unique name because there was always more than one Mary in my class. There was one girl, her name was actually Mary Rose. Her middle name was Rose also. And I was like, gosh, it's like, and then there's people that have all these really cool, unique names but it's all right. It's me.
Nobody ever pronounces it wrong, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any teaching gigs coming up that people can join you at?
Fabric Fiber Craft Fest, I think is what it's called. I plan to go to H&H also. This will be my first time going to H&H this year. I didn't realize that they had this craft festival ahead of time. And this is the first time they're having this craft festival. So I heard the response for all the people who would apply to teach there was very great. There were a lot. So
And you made it in.
I think a little bit of a leg in because Baby Lock is sponsoring the room.
Right.
So it's all their machines. So I got lucky.
When did you start designing quilt patterns?
I believe I made my first one in 2021. I did Elizabeth Chappell's course and I released my first pattern maybe a few months after I did that course, and that was in 2020. I do quilts for me that I make and I sell on my website. And then I also do free projects that you can find on the Baby Lock website. So they have free quilts there.
So if people want to book you for a lecture or take one of your free motion quilting classes, how do they find you?
I think the best way is through my website, which is, Merry-Go-Round Quilts, MARY, merry-go-round-quilts.com. And on there, you can find all of my on-demand classes, the shop, the quilt panels that I'm offering now. And I'm not sure if there's a link on there to my YouTube, but I have YouTube also.
Well, thank you, Mary, for being on the show. You've been just a fabulous guest, and I hope to meet you at QuiltCon or some other event sometime in the future.
Thank you so much, Karen. It was such an honor to be here. I've known you for a long time online, so I was thrilled to be on your podcast. So thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Mary Davis. I need that reminder that practice will make my free motion quilting skills better. If you are interested in any of Mary's patterns, panels, courses, or subscription group, I'll leave a link to her website, merry-go-round-quilts.com, in the video notes below. Next time you're in your sewing room, be sure to have Karen's Quilt Circle playing on in the background. I have interviewed so many interesting people on this show. Let one inspire you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.